Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My 42 female husband and I, we'll call him Tom, 44 male, were married for 12 years. We met in college, bonded over coffee-fueled all-nighters and dreams of making it big in our respective fields. Him in small business entrepreneurship, me in digital marketing. Our life together was far from glamorous, but it was real. We had a son, Charlie, who is now 18 and was the absolute center of our world. As with many marriages, we grew apart over time. Work stresses, parenting disagreements, little annoyances, all those classic things. About 3 years ago, we made the painful but mutual decision to divorce. There was no cheating, no dramatic explosion, just a quiet realization that our paths no longer aligned. We split our stuff, sold the house, and handled everything with as much grace as we could muster under the circumstances. Despite the divorce, I have to say, Tom was an incredible father to Charlie. He dropped everything to pick him up when I was stuck at work, attended every soccer game, helped him with homework, took him on weekend camping trips. He always paid child support on time, extra when I needed help buying a new laptop, took care of medical expenses without a fuss, and absolutely promised he'd cover Charlie's college tuition, all of it. We had an amicable co-parenting setup, and I was genuinely grateful. Fast forward 2 years after our divorce, Tom met someone. Let's call her Sarah, age 38. Right from the start, the three of them, Tom, Sarah, and her daughter, Emily, now 18, Tom's stepdaughter, seemed to click. Sarah's daughter and Charlie even went to summer camp together and became friends. It seemed like it might work out for everyone. Thing is, as pretty much every divorced parent warns, the balance can shift when new partners and stepkids enter the picture. I don't begrudge Tom finding love, or Sarah finding someone who treated her well, but the dynamic did change. I know Tom always dreamed of having a daughter, and he finally got one in Emily. It was like something clicked for him. He was so excited, and I admit, it was sweet in a way. But over the last year and a half, I noticed the following. He started spending fewer weekends with Charlie. Instead of his usual Saturday soccer games or Sunday brunch with Charlie, sometimes he'd go to stepdaughter's dance recitals or shopping trips with Sarah and Emily. A few times he'd double book and tell Charlie, "We'll do our thing next week, buddy." Next week rarely came. Asking for extra funds for Charlie, say for SAT prep courses or new gear, became more of a negotiation. He'd say, "Let me check my budget," or "I have unexpected business expenses," even though he was still covering Emily's horseback riding lessons and designer clothes without blinking. I let these little issues slide at first. I wanted to believe he was just adjusting to a new family dynamic, but deep down, I felt Charlie noticing the shift too. He'd say things like, "I miss Dad," or quietly text me, "Didn't hear from him all weekend." My heart broke, but I tried not to overreact. Flash forward to January of this year. Charlie got accepted to his dream school, an excellent private university with a solid business and marketing program. We were over the moon. Tom and I celebrated with him. I teared up when I saw the acceptance letter, and Tom gave the biggest bear hug. When Tom and I divorced, he promised me to pay for Charlie's college. We even emailed back and forth about logistics. In March, let's set up a meeting with the financial office in April to arrange payment schedules. In April, all looks good. I'll transfer the deposit in May. In May, deposit due. I didn't hear from him, so I texted, "Hey, reminder that deposit for Charlie is due next week. Anything up on your end?" He replied, "Sorry, things have been crazy with the business. Let me get back to you this week." I grew anxious but tried to stay calm. Then, 2 days before orientation, mid-August, my phone buzzed. "Hey, bad news. Things are looking dire with my company. Unexpected tax liabilities, supplier issues. I'm going to have to hold off on paying for Charlie's tuition. I'm really sorry, but I need to save the company." I was floored. I called him immediately. "What do you mean you can't pay? You promised." He said, I know. I feel awful. But if I don't fix my business now, I could lose everything, and then I can't help either of you." I told him I understood business can be hard, But it was unfair to pull the rug out at the last minute, when I'd already committed on faith. I had to be the one to break the news to Charlie. He stared at me, eyes wide, and asked, "So I can't go?" His shoulders slumped as the reality hit him, and I felt my throat close up. We sat in stunned silence, both of us overwhelmed by the crushing disappointment of his dream slipping away. Later, Charlie looked up and said, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll find work, save up, and go next year." A few weeks ago, I went for my regular manicure. My nail technician, Maya, is an old friend. She's been doing my nails since before I met Tom. Unbeknownst to me, Maya also started doing nails for Sarah, my ex's new wife. Sarah doesn't realize we know each other. She's not at the salon every week, just every other week or so. Maya, feeling cheerful, mentioned, "Oh, your ex is so generous. Did you know he paid for his daughter's medical school?" My heart stuttered. "Wait, what daughter?" I asked. Maya laughed and said, "Sarah's Emily. He's paying for her medical school, apparently. You know, future doctor, big commitment. He's covering her entire tuition." I sat there, stunned. My ex had just told me he couldn't afford to pay Charlie's tuition, yet he somehow found the cash to send Emily to med school. Let me repeat that. He's bankrolling his stepdaughter's six-figure medical degree, while claiming he can't scrape together nickels for his own sons. I felt rage, betrayal, heartbreak, like a physical punch to the gut. Maya tried to calm me. "Look, I'm sorry. It's none of my business, but you deserve to know." I offered Maya extra tip for discretion, and she agreed. The next day I texted Tom, "Hey, I heard that you're paying Emily's med school tuition. Care to explain why you can't cover Charlie's?" Tom, "Wow, you're going there? Seriously? I thought we agreed to keep our lives separate." Me, "You have promised to pay for our son's college tuition, then you said you can't afford it, and now I find out you had enough money to cover your stepdaughters. I want answers." Tom, "Fine. Look, medical degrees are more expensive and more important. She's going to be a doctor. Charlie's degree is business and marketing. If I invest in one, it should be the one with a guaranteed ROI. Me, "So you're saying my son's dreams are worth less than your stepdaughter's? He's your biological child." Tom, "Let's not do this via text. Call me tonight." I never called. Everything was already clear. I told Charlie what happened. He was furious and devastated. He decided, at 18, he didn't want a father who valued him less than his stepdaughter. Without hesitation, he told his dad, "Don't contact me anymore." And he blocked Tom on his phone and social media. Tom is absolutely livid. He's called me every name in the book, accusing me of poisoning his relationship with his son, stalking his new family via my manicurist, and ruining his life. He's threatening legal action, saying I'm defaming him, that I'm disrupting co-parenting, stuff like that. Meanwhile, I'm torn. On one hand, I feel guilty. Charlie is only 18, and he needs his father in his life. But on the other hand, I watch Charlie's dreams crumble because his own father chose someone else's kid over his own. I thought Charlie is old enough to know the truth despite it hurts. Now at least he sees reality. So, Reddit. Am I the a-hole for telling my son the truth about where his father's tuition money went? I don't think OP is in the wrong here. OP did exactly what a loving parent would do. Protect their child from false hope and give him the truth so he can make informed decisions. Tom's last-minute withdrawal was cruel and irresponsible, and he lied on top of that. It's unforgivable. And Charlie is old enough to know despite it hurts. And now let's hear community's opinion. Not the a-hole. I can't even imagine the panic you felt when Tom dumped that bombshell 2 days before orientation. You had to be the bearer of horrible news, and it broke both your hearts. Your decision to tell Charlie the truth wasn't poisoning anything. It was giving him reality. Now he can move forward instead of waiting around. You showed him what real support and transparency look like, even when it hurts. Not the a-hole. As a mom who's been through the stress of college planning, I know how devastating it is when funding falls through. Tom's choice to prioritize his stepdaughter's med school over his own son's undergrad was a betrayal. You had no choice but to be honest with Charlie, so he could start saving or explore other options. His idea to work and reapply next year shows resilience you helped foster by being straightforward. You did right by him. Not the a-hole. Hiding the truth would have done more damage in the long run. You protected Charlie from the uncertainty and helped him take control of his future. Tom blew his chance to support his son, and you made sure Charlie didn't waste another minute waiting on him. Honesty is painful but necessary, and sometimes the best way to love someone is to give them unvarnished reality, even when it breaks your heart too. I, female 49, am a single mother with 2 daughters, Jess, 28 female, and Jenny, 17 female. I had Jess when I was in college, and unfortunately, her father passed away when she was 2. By that time, I had graduated college and was in a 1-bedroom apartment, barely making enough money to survive. Throughout Jessie's childhood, whenever she asked for something, I would have to say no because we couldn't afford it. She stopped asking me for things around the time she was 10, and by 16, she had a job. A year later, Jess came to me and asked if I could pay for her half of her college tuition. I said that I couldn't because I was still working at a low-wage job and needed money for Jenny. She was very mad, and we didn't speak until she went to college in another city, where we went semi-no contact. A year later, I met my now husband, Sam. Sam was a blessing sent by God. He completely turned mine and Jenny's lives around, and by a year, we were living together, and in 3 years, we got engaged. We got married in a beautiful resort in Hawaii, but we didn't invite Jess because we thought that she couldn't afford a trip there. Jess somehow found out that we got married, and she blew up my phone. She was furious that she didn't get an invitation. I told her I thought we were being considerate because she was fresh out of college and couldn't afford a trip to Hawaii. I also reminded her that we didn't speak for years and only texted here and there. It's been 5 years since my wedding, and we've been starting to talk more often. She was at my house on Monday, and Jenny walked in, asking if I could pay for her. I agreed, and that was that. Once Jenny left the room, Jess blew up at me. She asked me why she had to pay for college on her own and had to be in debt while Jenny gets a free trip. I told her that circumstances were different and were better financially. Here's where I may be the a-hole. She said that it wasn't fair and that she wasn't even invited to my wedding or given a plane ticket to come. I had enough and snapped and told her to get over it since it's been years. She stormed off and we haven't spoken since. I told Sam and a couple of my friends, and they're conflicted. Am I the a-hole for treating my daughters different? You're the a-hole. I send invites to people for events I know they can't make it to, because it means something to be invited. It means you are wanted in that space. The message I get from this is that you don't mind your oldest not being in your space. You could have offered to help her on a house down payment, help pay off student loans, etc., to make it fair. But instead, you yelled. As a parent, this baffles me. You're financially in a place to afford a wedding in Hawaii, but can't afford to pay for your daughter's ticket? That would be the least you could do for her. Ding, ding, ding! You win the prize for the Worst Mother Award. It sounds like you were happy she moved away for college and went no contact with you. You can't blame her. If you can afford a wedding in Hawaii, you can afford to buy your daughter a ticket. It's the least you could do after abandoning her. I bet you don't even attempt to help Jess now that your life is better. Sounds like you never wanted your older daughter. I don't blame her for going no contact with you. Why bother? You were never a mother to her anyways. I'm a 29-year-old man. My fiancée is a 25-year-old woman, Amy. We have dated for 3 years and have been engaged for 1 of them. When we got engaged, we opened a joint account. Since Amy cannot easily work on account of a disability, it was an easy way for me to transfer money to her, on top of acting doubly as a wedding savings account. We have periodically used it for the former purpose, but not really the latter. I'm happy to support the both of us. I have a good job in finance and have always planned my spending carefully. Last week, Amy came to me and said she would like to start pitching in on the money-earning front. I said it was fine. She should focus on herself and her own well-being. But she was persistent and said at the very least she could start making some investments, even if the money comes in at a trickle. At this point, I figured why not? A few investments sounded like a good idea. I asked how much she wanted to work with, and she told me $1,000. No big deal. Anyway, about a day later, I noticed on social media that Amy suddenly had a pretty big eruption in activity. When I did some digging, I found that she had reunited with an old friend who had invited her to join something called Women Helping Women, Women helping women was apparently a woman would call upon 5 of her best friends. Each friend would give her $1,000 out of pocket at her birthday party. The woman would use that $5,000 to restart her life financially. Then, each friend would seek out 5 of their best friends to be gifted $5,000. So, basically, it's a giant pyramid scheme. About 5 seconds after realizing what it was, I went into the joint account's online banking and transferred all of the money back to mine. Then I texted Amy and told her not to go to that friend's birthday party. I was just in time, because that afternoon, Amy was planning to withdraw the money and go. When her old friend caught wind that Amy didn't have the money anymore, she blew a fuse and blacklisted her from Women Helping Women, which I see as an absolute win. Now she blames Amy for ruining her birthday party, which is the most juvenile thing I think I've ever heard come out of an adult's mouth. Now Amy thinks I'm a huge a-hole because I suddenly took a bunch of money out of our account. I tried to ask her if she recognizes it as a scam, to which she says maybe, but apparently she wanted me to communicate instead of just acting alone. That's what she is most upset about now. I know I was right to stop her, but could I have been wrong to just grab the money like I did? Did I approach this right, or am I kind of an a-hole for doing it? Not the a-hole. It sounds like a great way for the first person in the chain to walk with $5,000 for free. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with clawing the cash back right now, since you're not married and it's ultimately your money. You absolutely need to get into premarital counseling. This move wouldn't fly in most marriages, and this suggests that your fiancé is either desperate or really naive with money. Either way, your values need to align, or you should reconsider the marriage. Not the a-hole, your money. She said it was an investment, and it was a horrible one. I agree you should have communicated from the get-go, but not enough to make you in the wrong. She also covered it up like some safe standard investment by the way you phrase it. Not the a-hole. This is the rare situation when you're entirely justified in taking completely unilateral action regarding a joint account to prevent the other account holder from doing something. If she participated in a crime, which pyramid schemes are, using a check drawn on a joint account, the crap that rained down would likely splash on you as well. I doubt you'd get charged, but things could get messy nonetheless. I've known my friend Kate for a decade. She's been married to Andy for 7 years. I've never liked Andy. He gave off a "I'm better than everyone because I've got money" vibe. She has one kid, Ben, from a previous marriage. Andy loved Ben, because Ben's father is no more. Ben also saw Andy like a father figure. My company develops and maintains software to many companies. We are very famous among law firms. Andy's law firm had a problem with the software, and I went on site to solve it. While I was there, I noticed that some mails were stuck in quarantine. Quarantine is when someone's office mail receives mail from an unauthorized source, and the algorithm marked it either as spam or malicious. Long story short, I fixed the problem caused by the quarantine malfunction, but I had to manually clear out all the malicious marked emails. One such email was to Andy, and it was very obvious that he was cheating on Kate. There were pictures, and there were pictures of them together, NSFW and SFW types. I deleted the email. There are several reasons why I never mentioned this to anyone. 1. I cannot reveal this information legally. 2. If my company finds out, I will be fired. I love my job. I didn't want to jeopardize that. 3. I could get blacklisted. 4. If Andy finds out, he will sue me till I am dry. 1 year later, Andy serves Kate with divorce papers. Kate pretty much gets nothing except alimony because of her prenup. And then when everything was finalized, he revoked his U.S. citizenship and went back to Canada, his home country. He didn't give Kate or Ben any warning and just up and left. Later, I saw his new wedding photos, and I recognized the woman as the one from the emails. Kate has been really struggling since the divorce. She isn't able to hold on to a job properly. The virus isn't helping. She is constantly in the state of near broke. Here is where I might be the a-hole. A few days ago, I was talking to Kate, and she was venting. She told me how it would have been so much better if that a-hole had cheated, as the prenup would have been voided in that case. She thinks she might have gotten a lot more at the time of divorce, which would have helped her, as he was the reason she left her job to be a stay-at-home mom. Ben is acting out, and Kate told me that he is holding Kate responsible for the divorce. So, basically, I screwed both Kate and Ben by keeping this fact to myself. Kate and Ben's relationship is strained because Ben doesn't know why they divorced. Kate is almost destitute when she needn't have been if she had known. I found out about the clause too late. But I will also admit that if I had known about the prenup clause during the divorce proceedings, I still wouldn't have revealed it. Am I the a-hole here? I definitely know that Andy is an a-hole, but am I one too? Not the a-hole. You legally can't tell her. Almost seems like besides what you deleted, there's no proof of the cheating. So all you are going to do is hurt your friend and make her crazy trying to prove it. Not the a-hole. Andy's a giant a-hole. You're in a bind. You legally couldn't have revealed that information. You could have gotten fired or got sued for doing so. I know you want to help your friend, but it's best to pretend that you don't know any of this. You can't fix this situation. No, Andy screwed everyone, not you. Would it be nice if you told her? Yep. Are you an a-hole for not jeopardizing your entire career and potentially your future? Nope. You could have helped, but that doesn't mean you had to, and I don't know how anyone could blame you for the choices you made regardless of the outcome. To be entirely fair, she clearly signed a massively one-sided prenup, so while he's the one to blame for the situation, she isn't entirely the victim. She knew what she was signing up to, not the a-hole. Now, I just want to say, I'm not a mama's boy. My mom and I have a decent relationship, but we are very different people and not particularly close. My son is a month old now, and my parents hadn't met him, nor had they been pushy or aggressive. My wife never liked my parents, but everyone was civil on both sides until she got pregnant and decided she didn't want them in our son's life. My wife's reasoning makes no sense to me. She doesn't want our son to know his grandparents because my mom's best friend's husband is a crappy person. We don't live in the US, and I don't want to give any identifying details, but this guy is a very important politician in our country, ridiculously rich, and pretty much everything that is stereotypically wrong with politics. He is greedy, corrupt, and has screwed everyone for his corporate friends. That being said, he has no direct impact on our son. If my mom has us over, it's to spend time with family, and she doesn't have her friend there. My mom and this woman have been best friends for 30 years, and in one of those rich circles where the women never work outside the home, but have like 10 housekeepers, meaning they are together pretty much all day every day, and there is no way my mom would give up her friend for my son. I told my wife point blank that she doesn't get to blacklist my parents from our child's life over this guy. I will respect if she doesn't want them to babysit, but our son is going to meet them. My mom doesn't know much about my wife's reasoning, and a couple days before our son was born, she wished her friend a happy birthday and posted a picture of the four of them on a ski trip. And my wife got very upset, saying if my mom wants to go on luxury vacations with that man, she doesn't need to know our son. Today I invited my parents over. My wife wasn't happy, but I told her up front that I gave her a month, and my parents have been nothing but respectful. My wife stayed in her room, and my mom was only there an hour and a half, as she really isn't a boundary pusher. My wife thinks I'm a huge a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your wife sounds like the a-hole. If your parents are doing things to hurt you or your family, then that's one thing. But it sounds like they're not doing anything, so your wife needs to get over it. Everyone sucks here. Your wife's reasons for disliking your parents might not be reasonable. Might not be. Just because your mom and her friend are privileged enough to be able to ignore the consequences of this crappy dude's actions doesn't mean they don't actually matter. But overriding her wishes like they don't matter is a recipe for a miserable marriage, and a really terrible example to set for your kid. At the very least, if you're going to spend time with your parents, do it at their place. Don't force her to interact. Not the a-hole. She has no right to bar the grandparents from their grandchild unless it is dangerous or something extreme like aggression and such, which this isn't the case. When she chose to be with you, she had also agreed to be with your family. Cutting people out of your life isn't a call she can make for you. My wife has wanted to host a holiday for years, but has never had the opportunity due to other people hosting and lack of space. But since it is our first year married and in our new house, she is getting her chance to host. We were recently discussing the guest list, and she said my mom is invited. But she doesn't want to invite her boyfriend, John, because she dislikes him and finds it uncomfortable to be around him. I think John is fine. Extremely quiet to the point it is weird, kind of sulky, but nothing that would make me blacklist him from Thanksgiving. John just does not like people, can't be bothered to talk to anyone but my mom. He will say hi and bye, or whisper with my mom, but he doesn't say anything beyond that. My mom will sometimes joke about it and stroke him, which is a bit weird, but I'm a live and let live type. He once said the words, "I'm smart enough to make the money I want, and good looking enough to get the woman I want, so I have no motivation not to act like this." I told my wife that it would be rude to invite my mom without John. It would really hurt my mom, and there's no way in hell she would accept. She said that would be my mom's choice. I said to just invite him and let him sit in the corner. He makes my mom really happy. My wife refused. So I pointed out that my mom has always included her in everything, despite maybe not wanting to. When my wife asked what that meant, I pointed out my mom is nice enough to her, but they really aren't each other's type of people, and she would probably not interact with her if she wasn't my wife. My wife got annoyed and said that was different. She thinks I'm being an a-hole for having a suck-it-up attitude when it comes to something this important to her. Not the a-hole. Like you said, let a man live. Maybe John is just an introvert who goes to his girlfriend's events to be polite. Your wife sounds like a person who wants to be and stay the center of attention, so the indifference of John will bother her because it's not the result she wants. Your wife is the jerk here. Good job in humbling her. Not the a-hole. Everyone has a weird relative. I know John isn't a relative, but close enough. That doesn't mean you exclude them from a family get-together. It really doesn't sound like John is offensive enough to not invite him. Not the a-hole. If your wife refuses to invite John, your mother will either host her own Thanksgiving or ask if anyone else is hosting Thanksgiving, since she won't go to your wife's Thanksgiving. This will result in much drama and empty chairs at your wife's first Thanksgiving.